There we go. Okay, you're
Are we-
live.
All right, we're live. So hopefully this time will work. And of course, we're delayed, so we're going to have to take a second to see if we are coming live to you. If you're just joining us and you're jumping on, we're going to wait for people to jump on. Yeah, I do see my face now, Rod. So hey, we'll take a second and let everybody jump on. Brandy's already up. So if you were joining us earlier, our guest today is Brandy. So hello, Brandy.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent, other than technical difficulty. Hey guys, give me a thumbs up or something to let us know that you are seeing. It looks like we're seeing things on our end. I see Andrea's on, and Heather, and Karen, and Ryan, and Tammy St. Pierre. So you guys seeing everything? Visuals and audio is good. If you guys could give me a thumbs up on that, or a yes, everything's good. And we'll take a second to make sure that is happening. I'm seeing some likes. So yeah, it looks like everything is a go. All right. So Brandy, welcome to our second session of our R3 sessions. And probably everybody heard me describing it, but didn't see my face, which is fine. But R3 is all about renewing, restoring, rebuilding. And it's about restoring our triune being, which is our body, soul, and spirit. And I was sharing real quick, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing again, but just sharing about how often that we realize we're a triune being, or maybe we don't necessarily acknowledge it, but we do have some concept of it, but we often fail to realize how intertwined they are. And I'm amazed over the last 3 years how much I've even learned in that. And so people know my background, and I'm going to have you share yours. But I do have a human kinetics degree, so I study the human body. And now that I think back, I think it is interesting how, even though we studied it and we studied psychology, but I still think that there's a whole realm of understanding of how much the three of them interact together. And I think it's, and I know you well enough now, Brandy, that you find it fascinating as well, how much all three of them really work together. So Brandy, why don't you share a little bit, kind of your journey currently, because I know you're going after this. You're going after some of your qualifications. You've already got a few of them. And maybe share just a little bit of your journey, kind of where you've been at, where you're going.
Sure. Well, I actually grew up in sports. So, I was a figure skater. I played baseball.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I spent about 20 hours a week in the wintertime on the ice. And so what happens, obviously, when you grow up in sports is that as soon as you're no longer doing sports, you realize that you have to do something to keep your body, if not in the same condition it was in, then at least in some sort of healthy condition. And so fitness has been part of my life my whole life. I've always kind of been someone who understood the importance of it, but it wasn't until probably my mid-20s that I started actually doing it professionally. So I started teaching a few classes. I actually got into teaching boot camp classes originally, and I taught them for couples. I taught them for women, and then kind of progressed from there into all different kinds of teaching. And so right now I currently hold a fitness instructor specialist certification and a personal training certification from CanFit Pro. And I find it really fascinating. So I do offer online training and stuff, but I also do work in a women's studio. And I find that the connection between, especially mentally and physically, is, I would go so far as to say that if somebody is not able to learn to basically train their mind as they train their body, they're not going to see the results that they want to see, because it all starts in the mind. But then it's interesting how the effects of exercise, for example, on the body can then turn around and have beneficial effects on your mind, on your emotions, on the different part of your body. So they can't be separated, and we have to approach these things as one unit. We have to approach our health holistically. And I started really focusing on my health, not just in the exercise side of things. Exercise has been such a part of my life for so long that I know for some people they dread it. I love it. And so it's a little, but for me, looking at nutrition, looking at some of the things that I had to either incorporate or scale back on because I actually have a chronic condition. I started really digging into it to go, okay, how can I heal my body naturally? Because I believe, like you said, we can over spiritualize these things. I can eat whatever I want and pray for God to heal me, or I can pray for God to heal me, but then also be a good steward of the body that he's given me and learn what I eat, how much I'm sleeping, how much I'm hydrating, the exercise I'm doing is actually partnering with the Holy Spirit to bring that healing into my life.
Love it. Totally. Yeah. And I don't think like you with your chronic challenges that you have, it wasn't until I went through that season where, I used to exercise because honestly, as a male, I just want to look good. You don't want to get overweight. You want to still have a decent physique. You don't want to have that dad bod. But it wasn't until I went through that I began to realize how powerful that connection was. And it was my doctor who said, and I shared this last week when I wasn't sleeping, he's like, you got to work out. You cannot do this without working out. I'm like, you kidding me? I'm not even sleeping and you want me to exercise? And that's when I began that journey of understanding what we're going to talk about today, about how much your endorphins and hormones and, all that play a role. And so, you could bind the devil all day thinking it's a spiritual attack. And sometimes, of course, it is. But sometimes we're lacking in our bodies, or we're not active enough to be producing the hormones, or you said sleep, all that. So, so powerful. I did not know you were a figure skater. I think that's pretty awesome. Mind you, you did live in the frozen chosen area. So
I did.
You had ice how many months of the year, so.
All of them.
At some point. Hey, quick little kind of side note for everybody, tidbit. Interesting enough, this is the first time I think they said in 100 years that for 3 days in a row, we will have below freezing temperatures in every major city across Canada all at the same time. So
wow.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight, but I thought that was a really interesting bit of information. So, all right, so let's get into it because we want people to have a healthy body. We really want to go after that. So, one of the questions I had forwarded you, talking about being a triune being, I was talking about how does our body affect our soul and spirit? What is the, interaction that you see already happening? My wife is waving to me, so fun from working.
Hi, Krista. And that, that's a big question, because when you sent me that, I thought, okay, how do I say this succinctly and because there's so many different ways to take it. So let's focus on it scientifically for a minute. So if you look at exercise alone, okay, and I know that taking care of your body is not just about exercise, it's about nutrition and water and sleep and all of those different things and stress reduction. But when we look at exercise, the reason that it's recommended by a lot of doctors or mental health professionals, if you struggle with depression or anxiety, even though it's the last thing you feel like doing, the reason that it's recommended is because the number of mood stabilizing hormones that exercise releases have actually been proven to lower the effects of depression and anxiety. Now, there's that having to take that step, when all you want to do is stay in bed in order to receive that reward. But there are those reward systems in our body do kick into effect with exercise. So it might take everything you have to get it started, and it might be, you might be watching the clock the whole time if you're someone who doesn't enjoy it. But at the end, you're going to have that mood boosting rush that comes, and that energy that you didn't have before you started, and you're going to have that sense of accomplishment. So I actually made some notes. If Pastor Rod, do you have the slide there?
Yeah, I want to say with that, it's so true because they've done enough studies now to prove, and a good doctor will tell you this, that exercise beats out every drug that they can possibly prescribe to you on some level. And so when he told me that, I thought that's mind blowing.
Mm-hmm. And I do, as somebody who has struggled with, chronic sickness, with depression, with anxiety, I do understand the fight involved in building that discipline, but it's like anything else, any other habit. Eventually, if you are consistent, you will get to the point where you will wake up in the morning and you will want to put your shoes on. Your body will begin to crave it. I know that sounds crazy to some of you exercise haters out there, but it's true. You will actually, your body will start to crave it. Just like if you nourish your body properly with certain nutrients, eventually you'll want to eat vegetables. I'm still waiting for that in my own life. It'll come.
But it is so true. It is a fight to start. But I
Mhm.
agree, your body starts to crave it, absolutely. And I think, let's be real right now, wintertime, it's dark out in the morning. It is a battle. It's the truth. It is a battle.
Mhm.
So take
So
us
I'm-
through. I know you've got, we have the slide up there. We've got the 4 that you're talking about. So take us through those.
Okay, so the 4 main hormones that you're going to see released through exercise are endorphins, dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. So the interesting thing about endorphins is that and actually dopamine, they actually act as a pain reliever. So notice how you're going to be a little sore the day after you exercise, but as you're exercising, while those hormones are being released, your body actually is not experiencing the level of pain you would think it would, because it hinders the pain response and it actually increases the pleasure response. So believe it or not, your body actually enjoys exercise. It gets pleasure from exercise. It also reduces the effects of stress and anxiety. So we've already touched on that one a little bit. One of the biggest keys to taking care of your body is doing what you can to reduce or eliminate stress. Are we ever going to be able to get rid of it completely? Of course not. But there are things in our lives a lot of times that you can eliminate. And for what you can't eliminate, you can exercise it out. So it boosts happiness. It has a positive impact on self-esteem, stabilizes your moods. Okay, I'm going to speak to the ladies here for a second. Okay. As a PT, I will get messages from my clients and they will say, I have cramps, I'm not coming. And I will say, yes, you are. Because again, that pain reduction that kicks in when you are exercising and that mood stabilizing that kicks in when you're exercising, that's going to take care of most of those symptoms. And so sometimes our response is, well, I have a headache, so I don't want to exercise. If you exercise, likely by the time you're done, that headache's going to be gone, right? So all of these different things that aids in digestion and obviously weight loss. Sleep quality, if you are exerting your body, you are sleeping better at night. So those are just a few of the things that those hormones actually do to aid in certain, that connects with your soul, it connects with your body, it connects mentally. It's just kind of that big circle where everything is attached.
Love it. And I love what you said there too, because it is almost counterintuitive, right? You're like, I'm tired, so it'd be better to stay in bed, or I have cramps, or I'm in pain. And a lot of times it seems counterintuitive, but it's actually the exercise that's going to carry you out of that. And again, I have to honestly remind myself often of going, you know what, I don't feel like exercising, but that's why I should be exercising, because I don't feel like it. And so we have to learn that. So I love it.
Just because as a professional, I got to throw this in there. I'm not talking about like I pulled the muscle pain. We don't push through that. I'm talking about headaches.
Keep talking. I got to shut something off.
But if you actually are in the kind of pain where, it's prohibitive to exercise, that's when we rest or we stretch or we do something different.
And the reality is too, walking is just as powerful it can be. Sometimes that's all you can start with. Yeah. And I literally, it was pathetic going back. Pathetic in my mind, it's not, and I shouldn't say that. But when I went back, I had to start literally with little teeny weights when I started, because I had to get moving. That's all I could do. And so you start where you can. If it's a walk instead of a jog, if it's actually interesting story. When my dad was young, he blew out his bicep. Somebody actually, when he was arm wrestling, shoved his arm down, and so he had to start back with a pencil. That's how he started lifting weights again. So you start where you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
So anything else, we're talking about the benefits, anything that you wanted to add? And I think we've put up that slide about the benefits of the hormones. If we didn't, Rod, if you could do that. Anything that we talked about releasing natural pain. It's a natural pain reliever. It reduces the effects of stress, boosts happiness, self-esteem. Love that. Stabilizes moods, increase motivation and energy. So talk about how that even works.
Again, that's a hormone that is released. And you know what? The funny thing about it is a lot of the time you don't actually feel that energy being released while you're working out when it would come in handy. You feel it after. There's kind of that. Now you're going to have that sense of like you're tired because you just worked your body, but you have this just kind of energy to get you through the rest of the day. And your motivation, that affects everything. Now, the thing, Shane would tell you that motivation is a myth. And to a certain extent, that's true because motivation is only going to carry you so far, right? It's what gets you started, but often it's your mindset that keeps you going. It's your decisions that keep you going. And so the motivation comes when you begin to feel the effects of those hormones, you begin to see the effects that exercise is having on your body or the way it's affecting your well-being mentally or your self-esteem. Then that motivation is going to become a little bit more intrinsic because you have this uplifting experience now and you've gone through it enough to realize that the benefits are real. And as you start to reap the rewards, who doesn't want to go back for more of that, right? Yeah. It's like a job. You may actually not enjoy going to work for the first 2 weeks, but the first time that paycheck comes, that then becomes motivation to continue to go. There's a reward involved, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And one of the things I was thinking about, this connection of body, mind, and spirit, body, soul, spirit. A lot of times, and I used to, and still to this day, my pattern tends to be I get up, of course, I'll make, my tea or coffee, and then I'll read the word. But what I am beginning to notice, sometimes for me, it's actually more beneficial for me to do a quick walk on my treadmill. Because we'll say, you know what, I'm trying to read the word and I can't focus, I just can't seem to stay awake. And, and I'll be real. Sometimes I hear it in the Christian realm, the enemy was coming after me to make me fall asleep. Okay, there can be some truth to that. But the other reality is that sometimes we're just not awake. Our body needs some motion. And so sometimes it's better to actually jump on the treadmill. And if you have a treadmill or if you have a bike at home, something stationary, just to do some stretches, you can even listen to, audio Bible while you're doing it. But then I find after I've done that, okay, now I'm awake. Now I'm, those hormones are being released and the endorphins, and now I'm actually able to read the word and stay awake. Yeah. And so learning our body, learning that connection.
Yeah. And that was not one of the benefits that I included because, again, I was trying to keep it. But actually, attentiveness is another benefit of the hormones that are released during exercise. And, one of the things that for me, I really try to focus on in my daily workouts is choosing to take, I don't work out for 2 hours a day. That's just not, I have no desire to do that. I'm more of a 30 to 45 minute kind of girl. I get in, I get it done, and that's it. But one thing I really try to do when I exercise is I really try to be mindful. I try to be in that moment. And sometimes that means that I'm focusing on what my body is capable of doing in those moments. Because again, as someone, if you've gone through a healing journey, if you struggle with a chronic condition, if you're really struggling with being tired or depressed or anxious, when you get into those moments and you realize I can do a little more today than I did yesterday, and you begin to you have this attitude of gratefulness that starts to develop, and this mindfulness that comes and starts to line up in your workouts, and you're just present. You're in the moment. You're focusing on what your body can do. You're thankful for it. There's so many ways to make that 30 minutes a day count in every realm of your being. And so whether the program I'm doing has a bunch of music blaring in the background or not, I will take a minute, whether it's during the stretch or during the warm up, and I will thank God that I'm able to do what I'm able to do with my body. And I will ask him to give me the strength to to keep going.
Yeah, I love it. That's really good. One of the comments that just came up, and it was, Ray was talking about being a very active person, so they don't have to do much exercise. And the reality is that we live in a very different world than 100, 200 years ago. Most of our jobs, man, we have a lot of sedentary jobs these days. And so for some people, the reality is their jobs are actually their workout, and that's fantastic. Now, I still think it's great I always recommend it. People, make sure you get outside, go for a walk, get into nature, and we can look at that even later. But the reality is we do have sedentary lifestyles. So working out becomes, we need it. We desperately need to get our bodies moving, or all these chronic things begin to happen. And I love what you said at the beginning. A lot of times we want to pray these things off, and God obviously wants to heal us, but he wants to partner with us.
Yeah.
And so although I count what I went through, and I'm sure you do too, what you went through, although we count it as a negative going through these things, often he'll use it to go, okay, let me teach you how to get healthier in your mind, your body, your food choices. And it usually is a win-win, right? So
yeah. Right. Yeah.
I love it. So, you have some other things here. I asked you the question, how does taking care of your body relate to our spirit? So do you want to talk about that?
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting one, because exercise is empowering. Okay. Being able to set your mind and your focus on, accomplishing a workout every day, or like you said, making the right food choices. When we are consistently doing those things, and we're watching our body do more than we thought our body could do, and we're watching these changes happen, and we're getting stronger, and we're not getting winded when we walk up the stairs anymore, and we're able to do a whole push-up, like all of those small little things, there's this sense of empowerment that comes with that. And as we train our bodies, we're developing a sense of perseverance. And the way that I look at it is, I know that I was created with a calling. We all were. We were all created with something that God has in mind for us to do. And I don't ever want my physical health to be the reason I can't do it. And so I look at this as a way to train my body so that I am strong and healthy and able to do everything that I'm called to do. Our bodies are capable of so much more than we realize they are. And when you're working out, and let's say you're just starting something new, and it's something that it's a challenge for you, you're pushing yourself a little harder than you're used to pushing yourself. And you have that moment. Have you ever had that moment where you're thinking to yourself, I might die? Like, this might be what does it. And then something just kicks in, because your mind is often going to be the thing that tells you can't do it. Your body can keep going a lot longer than you think it can. So as we train ourselves physically in all of these different areas, there's this perseverance that develops. And when we keep our eyes focused on why we're doing it, we are getting our physical house in order so that we can leave a legacy of health for our children. We are getting our physical health in order so that we can have the impact on our world that we were created to have, and we are not cut short or hindered by our bodies. And so, and as I mentioned earlier, when you start getting into that place of mindfulness, and it becomes this sense of gratitude that we have to God for being able to have a body that can function this way, and asking him to make us stronger and make us able to run the race. Exercise has been proven to add longevity to our lives. There's so much that it does that will enable us to then be who we're called to be.
I love it. And doesn't that really come down to, he says, you are the temple of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit dwells in us. And, of course, we've moved away from understanding like that, everything we do, the Holy Spirit will leave. It's not like that. But I think that scripture is really referring to what you're talking about. I love it, that we want to be healthy and be on this earth as long as we're supposed to be, and be able to do our calling, what God's called us to do. I love that. That's so good, Brandy. Yeah, we want to be able to do all that God's placed us here to do.
That's right.
It's good. So take us through some more. I love it.
Okay, so you asked, one of the things that you asked me to consider is, what are 3 things that we could encourage people to do when it comes to taking care of their body? Obviously, there's more than that. And here's the thing, you alluded to this, or you mentioned this earlier. You start where you are with what you have. Now, here's my challenge. Shane, for example, he's not necessarily the exercise lover that I am, but he works out every day, 4 or 5 days a week. His job is very physically demanding. And so his thing sometimes is, well, I'm on my feet all day. But the thing is that when you have a physically demanding job, I would actually say that taking 20 minutes when you get home is crucial, because in order to function properly, and to be able to do the things that are putting physical demands on your body, there are certain kinds of training that you can be doing. So ladies, pick up a set of weights. I promise you, you're not going to bulk up like a dude. This is very much science. Okay. So the reason that we do weight training, and this is one of the first things I tell my clients when they sit down and they say, well, I want to lose weight, so give me a cardio program. And I will say to them, no, I won't do that. I will give you some cardio, but you're not going to do all cardio. And here's why. When you begin to incorporate weight training and body weight training into your lifestyle, so let's say you are someone who has a very busy schedule or whatever the case may be, and you find that you just don't have hours to be in the gym. Okay, so if you took 10 minutes when you first get out of bed and 10 minutes when you first get home from work and did a quick body weight circuit, those 20 minutes of body weight metabolic training will fire up your metabolism and keep it burning all day long. So the reason weight training matters is because it increases your metabolism. It builds up muscle density or bone density that is going to protect you as you age. So your bones are going to be less likely to break if you are a weightlifter. What else do I have here?
Those are great points. I love it.
Improved immunity. Who couldn't use that, right? We all need to, we've been given natural immune systems, so why not help them along a little bit, right? Better posture.
And I want to say, one of the reasons why I wanted to start this is because, of course, with COVID, we're hearing social distance, wear a mask, wash your hands. And those are good things. Wash your hands. Of course, that's something we should be doing. One of the things, honestly, I'm a little disappointed with our health system is we're not hearing the things that should be also happening. Like you're saying, I think everybody right now should actually be on an exercise program, because if we want strong immunity, this is what we need to be doing. Supplements, taking vitamin D, all these things, as the weeks go on, we'll talk about these things. But it's those are great, making sure that you stay away from somebody that has a cold, of course. But we have that natural system that we need to make sure is strong. And these are the exact things we're talking about. I wanted to mention too, when you're saying about exercise, it's so true. We could have a physically demanding job, but the reality is that we're not always targeting muscles that we need to be, because we're doing the same action over and over again. Yeah. It's kind of like working out. I've been working out, I do it quite often. I've done it quite often, but I'll stop here and there. But I was on this roll recently and I thought, man, I've targeted every muscle in my body. And then I did one new exercise and I went crazy on it because I thought, well, I've been exercising. And it's amazing how sore I was the next day because I wasn't targeting a muscle and I thought I had been. And I just say that because our jobs, we can think we're really physically active, but we could be missing our core. We could just be doing our shoulders and we're not, utilizing our whole body. So,
yeah. And that's actually something worth touching on right there, because a lot of people have a lot of lower back pain. And if you're walking around with lower back pain, let me just clarify that that's actually not normal just because you're aging. You should not actually be walking around with back pain in your 30s and 40s and saying, well, it's because I'm getting old. No, it's probably because you need to be training your entire core, because what happens when our abdominal system is weak is our back begins to take over the load, right? So then we're walking around, we have all this stress on our back, where if we would begin to do some functional training, it would begin to alleviate some of those aches and pains that we deal with. And so weight training and body weight training, metabolic training, those things are all going to make you better at what you do every day. You know, you're going to have less pain in your body. You're going to have less difficulty accomplishing things that you want to accomplish. And when I talk to people about exercise, I think of it this way. Whatever you're doing as a workout should challenge you more than your daily activities. So if you're active in your workout should actually challenge you slightly past that point, because that's the only way you're actually going to grow. That's the only way you're going to get stronger. Where if you're going, like you mentioned, you're doing the same movements, same muscle groups in the same way every day, you're actually not challenging your body. There's no growth there.
It's good.
So metabolic, again, weight training, body weight training. Don't be scared off by a little bit of weight. It's good for you, I promise. The second thing to consider, and this is one of the ones that I shake my head. There are actually 10 components of fitness, but the three main components are strength training, which we just talked.
Oh, there we go. You're back.
Sorry. Which we just talked about, cardio training and flexibility training. So often people want to skip one or two of those elements and they just, well, I just want to lift weights. I just want to run. I just want to,
No,
and then
we don't say we just want to be flexible.
no, nobody ever says, I just want to,
No.
I just want to cool down. I just want to, okay. But here's the thing. Injury prevention happens in your flexibility training. So anytime that you're working on something, you need to be thinking about, again, there's three components, just like body, soul, spirit: cardio, weight training, flexibility. Just because when I went through my personal training certificate course, she kept saying something and it stuck in my brain. And she said, as you train clients, the reason that you need to encourage them to be focused on their flexibility is that, the reason you need to have them focus on that is because as we get older, we lose a lot of mobility in simple things. So she said, even being able to turn around you. Some people, because they have not trained their bodies and conditioned their bodies, even that can be a struggle. So some of this stuff is just about not wanting to feel terrible every day for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah. Just to want to add in, if people missed what I said last week, what you're saying is so true, because when I went through my season and I began to, so this is, to me, is this whole body, soul, spirit. When I began to get tested for all these different things, possible diseases, and it narrowed down to prostatitis, which really narrowed down to stress in my body, which caused me to tense my body up, which caused me to be in a constant state of flex. And I went from being a flexible gymnast to, in my 40s, having actually the flexibility of a 70-year-old. And she started to have to work on me. So, you could be praying this off. You could be trying to figure out, and some of it was soul, because I had to get rid of some pain and I had to go through some healing and forgiveness. But all of it was working together. And I had to actually start to stretch. And I'll be honest, stretching is not one of the things I enjoy anymore. But now I realize if I don't do these things, I lose mobility. Mm-hmm. If I lose mobility, I might have some pain. If I have some pain, I may have some lack of sleep. If I have lack of sleep, then I can't maybe get into the word in the morning. Like, it all intertwines so much. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's true. And I might be the exception to the rule, but I love flexibility training. It's my favorite part, because to me, that's like the reward at the end. I've just put my body through this grueling workout, and now I get to just relax into the stretching and just basically restore my body in those moments, right? So it's crucial, and it's for a lot of reasons. Like you said, it's crucial. One thing that now hear me say, I'm not a nutritionist, okay? And we're very different in our focus. But one thing that I would just encourage you in, especially if you're on a weight loss journey, if you know, you have these goals, and it's like, well, I really would like to lose this much weight, or I would like to tone up, or I would like to do this. Sorry, I need to find a charger. So, you know, if we have those goals, one thing that people really need to be aware of is that exercise is 20% of the equation when it comes to your weight loss journey. The other 80% is found in what you're putting on your fork. And so many people, you know, they're okay with the workouts, but as soon as I have clients who they'll come in and they'll sit in my office and they'll say, oh, I work so hard and I can't lose any weight. And I'll say, okay, bring me a food journal. And they'll say, well, no, I don't want to do that. I'll say, well, I know. But the reason is because you can never out-train a bad diet. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to be thinking about, you know, you mentioned the body being the temple of the Holy Spirit. Well, we don't want to fill the temple with junk. It's one thing we all indulge, we all enjoy.
I feel like I'm getting a workout right now.
I know, sorry. We all enjoy the indulgences, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for the most part, a lot of food that we eat is not actually even food. We can't pronounce what's in it. You know, it's full of fillers. When we begin to actually just put real, natural, whole foods in our body, the way that we will feel is it's a 180. Yeah. You know, the way you just feel more clear-headed, you feel more energetic, you feel, you know, and the weight loss it's like a perk. You know, it's a natural result of those things, but what probably is of more benefit is all of the other effects that eating that way can have on your body and your mind.
So true. Absolutely. I think and Chris and I were just talking about this today. The reality is that our food, a lot of it is not even grown in soil anymore because we have greenhouses, and, you know, of course it's where we're at in life, and we're not going to necessarily be able to always change that. But the reality is our food is not even getting the nutrients out of soil anymore that it used to. And so we have to be aware to try to eat the best healthy food as possible. We can't always buy organic. We don't even try half the time because it's so expensive, but still, you know, you just start with moving from, like you said, I love what you said, food that you don't even know it's in it because you can't pronounce it half the time, to, you know, a good healthy sweet potato and a good piece of chicken. And, you know, which is something, you know, I'd love to one day look at all this stuff as we go down, because some people don't even know where to start with that. I was blessed growing up with a house where my mom and Krista's mom cooked whole foods. So I was raised in that. But the reality is there are a lot of people that grow up and don't even know how to cook. They don't even know where to start. So let me ask you this. It's, you know, time's ticking here. So let's say that somebody's watching, you know, and they're like, man, I am so out of shape. I haven't worked out. I don't know how to stretch. I don't know how to work out. What are some simple things where people, like you said earlier, one of the most neglected thing, I can't remember what the stat is. I think it's 70% of the population walks around dehydrated. I think that's what yeah. And so, you know, even just starting drinking water every day is just a simple way to get into better shape. What are some really simple things that you would recommend? You know, not everybody can run out. You can't even buy gym equipment right now. It's so expensive. It's crazy. At-home gym equipment is just off the charts. So how does somebody start? What do they do?
Okay, so let's look at it in different categories for a second. So as you mentioned, hydration, half your body weight in ounces, if you can do that. Now I'll be honest, that's a challenge for me. First of all, I don't like water, so I flavor it. I put lemon wedges in it, or I actually like lemon and basil, which some people find weird, but I like it. Okay. So find ways to flavor your water, drink sparkling water once in a while, but try to get, and honestly, even the benefit that it will have on your skin is worth staying hydrated. Secondly,
so really, let me just, before you stop there, so say it again so people can, you know, how much in ounces?
Half your body weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds, then you should be drinking 75 ounces of water a day. Now, if you're someone who's smaller and you weigh 110 pounds, then stick with the 8 glasses a day. So stick with at least 64 ounces. And in line with that, because sleep is so important, don't drink it right up until you go to bed. Cut it off at a certain point. And the same goes with food. Little things like not eating all night and giving your body some rest. I stop eating at 7 p.m. And I usually don't eat breakfast till 9 because I'm just not really much of a morning or breakfast person. But if you give your stomach a couple 3 hours after you eat your last meal before you go to bed, you're going to sleep better. Your body is not so focused on digestion that you can't relax. Because when you have all your systems firing and you're trying to sleep, you're not going to sleep well. You're going to get heartburn, cramps, all those things are going to happen. Now, when it comes to exercise, there are so many things. Yeah.
Let me just stop you. Let me add into that right now. You add in this perfect storm, like you're talking about, where, of course, we're stuck at home. So what do people do right now? We're watching a lot more TV than we're probably used to. What do you like to do when you watch TV? We like to eat. Mm-hmm. And these are the things that are actually working against, because I'm sure you're hearing it too, the depression level, the anxiety level, the stress level. And of course, it's because of all the things that are happening around us, the news. But the reality is we're actually putting our bodies into this state sometimes. And so, yeah, we got to stop that binge eating, that emotional eating. And I love what you're saying, 3 to 4 hours, giving yourself a chance to digest that. But it's simple things that are sometimes hard to be consistent with, right? So that's great advice. I love it.
They're simple in theory. But, and especially, okay, hear me say, when I have clients who come in, sometimes it can be absolutely heartbreaking. And because I'm there as part personal trainer, part child of God, right? So there's this thing that kind of always kicks up in me. And I've had women crying on my treadmill. I've had women crying in my office because their self-esteem is so low. And every single time somebody comes in and they sign a contract with me, I go out and I buy them a journal. Mm-hmm. And I fill the top of the first few pages with affirmations for them. And the first thing that I write in every single one of those journals is, you can do hard things.
Love it.
Because nobody's telling you this is going to be easy, because it's actually not. This is hard. It's hard to discipline yourself to do these things. And that's why people don't do it, or they do it for 3 days and they quit. So I never want to say to somebody, oh, well, you just need to exercise some willpower. No, once again, you need to treat it as a holistic journey and realize that your mind has to come into alignment. Your emotions have to be affected. You have to lean into the Holy Spirit anytime you develop a lifestyle that requires discipline. And so I have this one client, and she meets with me 3 times a week. And when she first came, she's a young girl. And when she first came, she couldn't get up a flight of stairs without being winded. And she would come and she would get 5 minutes into a workout and stop and look at me and go, I can't do it. It's too hard. And I would just keep saying to her, you can do hard things. You can do hard things. You can do hard things. And I'm sure it got maddening. But then there was one day that I was training with her in the weight room. We were over at the CrossFit equipment, actually, because I like to do that. It's fun for me to watch people do that. And I took her over to the CrossFit equipment, and she looked at me and she kind of went, this is really hard. And I didn't say anything. And under her breath, I could hear her go, okay, I can do hard things. I can do. And it was that right there is what it's all about. Yes, it's difficult. So, you ask what people can do. Okay, let's say we took 10 minutes and you spent 60 seconds jogging on the spot. And then you took another 60 seconds and you did whatever form of push-up you can. For some people, that's full tabletop position, hands and knees, and you're just dipping your chest down because that's what you can do. You take 60 seconds, you sit against your wall. You disappeared on me. Okay. Or, you can take you take 60 seconds. You can do some lunges. You can do tricep dips. again, you can do some jumping jacks, you can do some stretching, you can get on the floor and do some ab work. None of that requires any equipment, but it's all effective. And what I would say is work in the cardio, then some strength, then some cardio, then some strength, and get your metabolism firing up. Take that 15 minutes a day, and it doesn't have to be a lot, but get your body moving. And so those three things I would say: think about what you're putting in your body, think about your mindset, and then take small steps and move your body a little bit every day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think I need to throw this out there. One of the things that makes the biggest difference for my clients or the people that I train in class settings or online is support, because you do need somebody there that is not just holding you accountable, but recognizing that this is a challenging lifestyle to begin to develop. So you need to have someone celebrating with you. You need to have somebody to ask those questions of. You need to have somebody to come to and say, this is hard. I don't know how to keep doing this. And have somebody in it with you. It's just like any other thing. When we try to do it alone, we just are not as successful as when we do it in tribe. And so I think it's important to recognize that as well. We need support on the journey. Right now. Yeah, that's right.
And you need to keep charged. You need to be plugged in daily.
That's why I got up and wandered around, even though it was distracting. I'm like, yeah, my battery's going to die.
Well, I thought I had it plugged in, and apparently I forgot that last step of plugging it into the wall. So I got the signal that pops up, and then boom, it was done. So I'll have to go back and look at. You're talking about obviously encouragement and working out with somebody or having somebody you can keep accountable, right?
Well, before that, I just mentioned that, you know, if you took 10 minutes and did a circuit in the morning, that's just some high knee jogging or some jumping jacks. You know, we're not going to throw burpees at anybody. You can do a modified jumping jack. You know, it doesn't have to be high impact ever. You can do some wall sits. You can do some tricep dips, little things like that. If you do them for 60 seconds at a time, that don't require any equipment, but are still going to hit those muscle groups and get your metabolism firing every day.
Yeah. You know, and it's so true. Right now, I do have a gym in the garage that I use in the, spring, summer, fall, but right now it's too stinking cold. You know, I'm amazed at how many things you can do with one set of dumbbells.
Yep.
And sometimes we talk ourselves out because we need the whole shebang. You know, we need the CrossFit box. We need, no, you just really honestly don't even need dumbbells. Like you're saying, body weight is an incredible thing to use. So
yeah.
I go back to the day when I had my injury and I literally, like you said, knee ups. I literally put on music and did knee ups. I started there, and then I could do jumping jacks, and then I could do, before you know it, you're doing a couple burpees, and you just start somewhere. So I love what you're saying a second ago, and well, maybe 5 minutes ago now that I had the power outage, but again, it goes back to, you're talking about that young girl who couldn't walk up the stairs, but then, got the motto in her brain, I can do hard things, so there's that soul body connection, right? Your mind with your body that then affects your spirit. It's so powerful, and something that we just seem to not neglect, but maybe are not always aware of how powerful these things are interacting. So that's so good. And any final thoughts? Because we are running out of time. What are some final thoughts with this?
My final thought on this would be, do these things because you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Do them as an act of love. I have a client who comes and just, when she first started coming to train with me, I stood her in front of the mirror in the weight room. And I said to her, I'm not training you until you can look in the mirror and tell me one thing you love about yourself. Because she was there because she hated herself. She hated her body. And nothing we could have done on the physical was going to change that. And so we had to start with, okay, we are here to care for the body that God gave us. And we need to be able to look in the mirror and love that body and love the God who gave it to us and do it almost as an act of worship. We do it unto him. I'm caring for the temple that you gave me. I'm not punishing it. And that is such a vital thing with diet culture and everything else that we live in. It's vital to understand that the motivation behind what we do should be love. It should be because we believe that the bodies that God gave us are worthy of caring for.
I love that. And again, that's that whole connection. You know, I love what you just said, because what you just actually made it really clear. You could train her all day long, but she's not going to actually even potentially lose because her mind body connection. And even if she got there, she probably still wouldn't love herself, because something else is probably going to tick her off about herself. I love that. And so we start with loving ourselves first.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be real, you know, are you in your 40s yet? I know I am.
Just
All right. So the reality is that I am not going to, unless it becomes my full-time job, which it won't, but I will not have the body that I had when I was 18. But it's about being healthy. And so often I even have to remind myself of going, I'm aiming to get healthy, not to get that perfect body. Because that perfect body still won't make you happy. And here's the other reality. A lot of these bodybuilders, not necessarily CrossFit and that, but a lot of the bodybuilders are actually using things in their body that is so unhealthy. It's the oxymoron of exercise. You know, they're not even healthy, really.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah.
So really simple things you're talking about, you know, that body connection with our mind, you know, speaking. I encourage everyone. What do you put on their journal? You said,
I do a lot, but the first one is always, I can do hard things.
I love that. You know, that's something everybody needs to do and write in their journals. You know, I can do hard things, and start the day with that. Absolutely. Drinking water. We've talked about a lot of great things, and I want to have you back on. We'll hit some more, because we did kind of touch on rest. And that's something that there are a ton of studies now that show us how we can get better rest. And honestly, I was oblivious to all that because I used to sleep so well. But all of a sudden, when you don't, you have to find out how to get better at it. So
isn't that the truth?
yeah. So Brandy, how can, if they want some more help, I know you are launching, you know, you're really launching a business right now in this area. If somebody wanted to contact you and just maybe look at what is available, is there a way right now they can?
So if you're on Facebook and you're connected to me, just send me a private message that way, and I will hook you up with my wellness group that I've started. The other alternative is to just email me. So the email address is brandie.rau@gmail.com. So brandie.rau@gmail.com.
Awesome. And I'm sure there's some people that are probably thinking, you know what, I need some help. I don't know where to start. And it'd be great. You're a great resource for that. Thank you for taking your time and coming on here as part of, you're part of the church family, but I know there's others that are watching, and such good information. And yeah, I look forward to some future talks, and maybe, you know, if you guys have some things that you want us to cover specifically about the body side of things, let us know, and maybe we can touch on those. This stuff does, all three areas get me fired up, and because they're so intertwined, and we're going to get healthy. And this is the season. I declare over our church, you know, over the families, we're going to get healthy in this season.
Amen.
So again, thanks for joining us, Brandy. And I know you came on us right from a workout. You came literally from one. So we thank you for that. Church family, have a great night, and we'll catch you next Wednesday. God bless everybody.